just go to the chat and let me know that you're good, ready to go. Just hit a number one. Number one, make it super simple. Number one, you're ready to go. You're set. You're fired up, and you're ready to dive into this. Let me get my thing ready to rock and roll here. Here we go. So with that, we've got a number of things on the agenda here today. My big plan for you guys is I want to get you set up for your 2023 goals. Simple as that. The 2023 marketing goals, and I've got some really fun resources that we're gonna break down and use. It's gonna help you really figure out how many leads that you really need to hit your targets. We're gonna break down the 3 fundamentals of marketing success. Because if you don't know the marketing success fundamentals or formula, then it's really hard to build a marketing campaign, right? We're kind of shooting in the dark. So I want to break down the marketing fundamentals and the success formula. I'm going to show you how to optimize your website for conversion leading into 2023 and really beyond. There's a lot of things changing as we look at 2023. There's been a lot of trends changing, the way things happen digitally, and I want to show you how to capitalize that. I'm going to dig deep into the big picture of online marketing. And really, I want to focus in on what channels that you should be tapping into to maximize lead flow. How many of you guys can agree? Quick show of hands. I'd encourage you all to turn your cameras on so that I can see you guys too, so we can be interactive. Just quick show of hands, thumbs up. How many of you guys can agree that there's a ton of different marketing channels that we could do? There's also a ton of marketing channels that don't necessarily bring good ROI or positive ROI. And there's other channels that really do. And I want to really dig deep and focus in on the channels that we are seeing good trends from. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about the latest trends that you need to focus on in 2023 so that you can build that custom plan. And really it comes around this. If you guys been around REI Toolbox at all, heard about REI Toolbox, talk to any of us over here. I know some of you guys on this call are clients, some of you guys are not. I talk a lot about lead domination systems, right? Marketing in our business, a single piece of marketing is nothing more than a tactic. A true marketing plan that really gives us the ability to dominate our lead flow and dominate our lead generation system is a strong compilation of tactics, right? Marketing at the end of the day is nothing more than taking a bunch of tactics, putting it together into a really strong campaign to go get results. That's why individual marketing tactics don't necessarily work really well, because they don't hold their weight on their own. It relies on needing kind of some other components around it. And that's really what we're going to get deep into, is building that domination plan. So do me a favor, as I talk about all the time when you're on trainings. If you guys have ever been in a live room with me, you know I talk about this stuff. Turn off your cell phones, turn off Facebook, get off of TikTok, get off all that stuff. Stay tuned in for the next 60, 70, 80, 90 minutes, whatever this might run. Stay tuned in, and I promise you, you're going to get a ton of value out of this. And I want to make this statement. If you're a real estate business owner and you're serious about getting better results in 2023, not 2022, I mistyped that, the next 60 to 90 minutes is going to change your business. If you're not looking for change next year, down in the bottom corner, down somewhere on the top, it just depends what type of device you're on, there's a button that says leave meeting. If you're not looking for change next year in your business, not the right meeting to be on, go ahead and hit the leave button, and wish you the best. I don't think anybody's going to hit that button though. So if you stay to the end, I've got some really powerful resources that I'm going to give you some links to that you're going to be able to use inside your business. I got a fun calculator. We're going to actually dive live into it, but I'm going to give you guys the link to it to actually be able to utilize it in your business. So who am I and why should you even pay attention to me? Most of you guys know me. There are some names and some faces on here that I don't know super well. But if you don't know me, my name is Sean Tiberio. I've been in the real estate industry now for just shy of about 10 plus years. Over that time frame, I've built and scaled a couple different real estate businesses. I've exited a real estate business, which means I've actually built a company, sold it, meaning I got paid for somebody to buy me out of a business and take it over and move on to other things. I'm the author of a couple different books. Many of you guys have read one, if not both of those, Fortifying Your Mind or Marketing is Like Dating. And I am the CEO and co-founder here at REI Toolbox, where all we do is marketing for real estate professionals. I can't emphasize that enough. The real estate industry is a unique industry. So marketing is not just marketing, right? Marketing for real estate whether you're agent, whether you're an investor, it has its nuances. And that's something that's I'm really proud about is we do marketing for the industry that we know. We've got it by the back of our hands. We know it. We're in it every day, and we're always studying it. So a lot of the stuff I'm going to go through tonight, I don't know if you guys can super clearly see this, but there's a young individual holding a board that says cornhole tournament, and there's somebody else dressed up in what looks to be like a cat style suit. I'm not going to speak tonight on hypotheticals. I'm not going to speak tonight on things that I don't really know a lot about. And here's what I mean by that. This is me when our real estate business first started. This was what I was doing to try to get leads. I thought, hey, we opened an office. Let's throw a cornhole tournament in the parking lot in Northeast Ohio and get a bunch of people to show up there and hang out. And that way they can learn about house to home properties. Well, I'm not the guy holding the cornhole tournament. I'm the guy in the monkey suit, jumping around like a dork on the side of the road because, hey, I'm marketing for my business, right? I've done the trade shows, been there, done that, set up booths, talked to people like crazy, sat at tables and put our brand out there and talked to people. I've tried different things. I tried to outsource bandit signs once to my daughter. I realized we needed a better training program because she kept trying to put them in upside down, and that wasn't going to work. I've done the talks about our projects at real estate brokerages and at real estate offices all over the place. You know, we've had all the different types of marketing that anybody can have, and what I came to realize was digital trumped all of it. Digital marketing, internet marketing has trumped every bit of it. Some of our clients that are on this call, they were just on a training call with me, but 25 minutes ago. And they were watching me live in the moment deal with a 100% truly organic lead from Google down to they were watching me message this person. They were listening when I actually got on the phone and talked to this person. And the ahas and the realization that was a completely different style lead when they come to you versus you trying to do all that other marketing that I used to do like crazy and try to get somebody to pay attention to us. So if you guys are just jumping on this call, scroll back in the chat. Somebody might have to, Chris, I might need you to copy and paste. Let me actually do that real quick here, because as they come in, they might not see the old chats. If you haven't downloaded the workbook, download it, have it on there with you. But I'm ready to get rocking and rolling, and I actually want to start with this question first. Actually, let me stop here for a second. Does anybody need me to tell you more about why you should listen to me and what we're doing here, or do we just want to get into the good stuff? Give me a thumbs up. Good stuff? Okay, love it. So I got a question for you. Go to the chat and answer this question. What is the hardest part about marketing your real estate business today? What is the hardest part for you? I don't care whether you're an agent, whether you're a broker, whether you do probate, whether you buy notes, whether you are just a buyer's representative. I don't care what area of real estate you're in. What is the hardest part of marketing your real estate business today? And we see time. A couple people actually said time. Jacob said consistency, finding the right target, making content to keep my marketing consistent, lead to conversion, finding the right people who want to sell, consistency, time. Starting to see a lot of similarities, right? Time, consistency, avatar. These are things that we hear all the time. Now, my question to you is, why? Why are those the hardest thing for you? Go to the chat and let me know there. Why are those so difficult? Whether it's time. Why is time hard for you? Why is consistency hard for you? I hear things like awareness, noise, busy getting deals converted. I mean, that's not a bad problem, Jacob, right? We're doing deals, but I get it, right? We're tied up, and that means consistency is going to have a problem. Family should have a better process. I like that one. So something that I've come to see over the years, a lot of common kind of like why and what it is that's the struggle. There's a ton of different options. We already talked about this earlier. We get really sometimes unclear. Where should I be doing it? Where should I be consistent versus not being so consistent? Where should I really spend my marketing budget? The other one that I hear a lot is major investment in marketing. Right? There's free things that we can do, but a lot of the marketing that really drives the good results requires a level of investment into it. How many of you guys have ever heard the saying, you got to spend money to make money? I don't necessarily fully agree with that statement all the time, but in the form of marketing, that statement's not too far from the truth, right? A lot of times we do got to invest into the marketing side of our business, but is that necessarily a bad thing? If it's giving me a good ROI, if it's bringing me opportunities, right? That's the key. I'm okay investing as long as I'm getting something back out of it. A lot of people say, hey, my marketing gets hard because I don't have much to show for it. And sometimes when we're doing the wrong marketing, that exactly is the problem. And then I hear this. If I don't have this clear plan, I tend to overspend. I tend to underperform. And that's very, very true. So today we're going to talk about more around the opportunity. How do we put a plan in place so that we know where the marketing is going to happen? We know what channels we want to do it on, what outlets, right? What marketing tactics we want to use. And with a clear plan, we can kind of nip in the butt the time factor, the consistency factor, the difficulty. I love that a couple of you guys were saying, like, I just don't know who's the avatar. I don't know how to find that avatar. We're going to talk about that when we get into the 3 fundamentals of it. And it really starts with a clear plan and your target so that you know exactly how many leads that you need to be generating. I've got a quick question for you guys before we go too deep into this. I see a couple of faces on here that I know can answer this. So like Chris, Sal, Matt, a couple of the others that I talk to quite a bit. Don't put anything in the chat just yet. How many guys know exactly how many leads you need to get a single deal under contract? What your lead to conversion, your lead to close conversion rate is? Just go to the chat and put a 1 if you know. I know exactly how many leads roughly I need to get a conversion. If you can't answer that question really quickly, right? If I see some of you guys sitting back thinking, looking up in the air, like, what would be my number? If you're not quite sure of that, that's a problem. Because how do we know how much marketing we need to do to get the deals that we want to do? How many of you guys have a really clear picture from a goal standpoint as to what you really want to be making in your business? Like, how much money do you want to make next year? See a couple of hands. Well, here's the fun thing. Business at the end of the day is nothing but math. If I know how much I want to make, and I know how much my average deal typically runs me, and I know how many leads I need to create a deal, then it's really simple. I have one metric that I have to go after. Generate X number of leads. Because if I generate X number of leads, I have my close percentage in place. I know that means I'm going to probably do X number of deals. I know that those deals are going to generate X number of dollars for me, and therefore I'm going to make the money at the end of the year that I was, going after. So I'm going to skip ahead here. So we have to set some clear goals, right? And stop for a second right here, wherever you're taking notes. I want you to write a couple things down. We're going to talk briefly here about what are your goals for 2023, because you're going to need these when we start plugging some stuff into some spreadsheets here. The first one that I want you to write down is, what is your total income goal for 2023? How much do you actually want your business to generate? And I'll give you a second to write that down. The next number that I want you to write down around a goal for 2023 is how much time do you want to be able to take away from the business in 2023? Maybe it's, hey, I want to be able to take off, every single weekend, every single month. I don't want to work on Saturdays and Sundays. So that'd be what, 2, 4, 6, 8, about 8 days a month times 12 months. Maybe that's your answer, right? How much time do you want to step away from the business in 2023? And then the third one that I want you to write down, Kind of goes back to the first one. What's that dollar amount? How much do you want to generate for yourself in 2023? I want you to write down, when in the year of 2023 would you like to achieve that? And I see some of you guys giving me the confused look on what I mean by that. When in 2023 do you want to achieve the dollar amount that you wrote down as the goal? Somebody unmute and tell me why you think I'm asking you to write that number down, or that answer down. Right? It's not necessarily a number. It's probably a month and a date, or a month at the minimum. Why do you think I might ask you to write that down?
Because that's your time frame to reach those goals.
Yeah, I mean, but let me play devil's advocate for a second, Sal. How many of you guys are saying, as long as I achieve it by December 31st of 2023? I see Bill, Ken. Thank you guys. Some of you guys putting your hands up. Thank you for being honest. Sal, why is that a bad thing? To say, hey, as long as I achieve it by December 31st.
Well, it's okay. I'm not really sure. I put October.
Okay. Why'd you put October? Let's start there then.
Because I want to be hyper aggressive with trying to get those leads and trying to get that business. I want to succeed beyond the goal.
And it still gives you some time if you don't make it to the end of the year to make that goal.
100% agree with you, Eileen. If I write down that, hey, this is my goal, right? I want to make X next year. I want to make $100,000, $200,000, $1 million next year. That's good, right? I got my target. I know my goal. I know where I'm going for. And if I write down that I want to take X number of days off a month or X number of days off total in the year, that's good, because that gives me an idea of how many days throughout the course of the year I'm actually going to put in focus on my business. But if I write down, I want to achieve this financial goal by December 31st, 2023, when do we measure whether we hit it or not then? December 31st, 2023. And if we fall short, do we have any time to rebound? No. So anytime I ever set goals, I don't care what the goal is, I don't care what we're doing, I always set the goal way prior than the ideal time frame. So I want to set this financial goal. Sal, I think you said August or October. Did you write down? October? Yeah, thumbs up there. October's perfect. And here's why. If you haven't achieved the financial goal by October of 2023, is that beginning of October or end of October?
End of October.
End of October. That means I still have November and December to get on my horse, right? To get some move on, to dig in a little bit deeper, to grind. And it still gives me a chance to hit it, right? It also is preloading the front half of our year. So if you hit that goal by the end of October, knowing you're not going to stop. You're going to still go for more, right? But are you going to go as aggressive? Are you going to be okay taking some extra time off? Are you going to be able to sit back and chill and relax a little bit and not be as focused?
It'd be my choice.
Yeah, because you've achieved the goal that you set out for yourself already. So, little side note on that. I just wanted to really get you guys thinking. Like when I build maps, when I like game plans and a roadmap and setting a goal and building around it, I never use the final like, oh my God, it has to happen by this date as that deadline. Okay. And that'll make more sense when we start to get into some of the spreadsheet stuff. So the other reason I want to encourage you to really be clear on these numbers, a goal without a plan is great, right? It's kind of like this beautiful photo, this sailboat. How many of you guys would love to just, relax on that right there? That's amazing, right? We've got a goal. Great, cool. You got this, vision out there. The problem is without the right plan in place now to achieve the goal, it's like we didn't have any wind in our sails. We couldn't go anywhere. So the clear goals with a plan puts the wind in the sails and gives us the roadmap that we can go forward with. So as we build this out, I really want you guys to think about those goals that you're writing down and where we're going to take it. So I'm not going to hit all of this stuff, but I will encourage you guys, at a minimum that 1 year goal, but I would back it off from there. I would have a quarterly goal that emphasizes, that kind of leads up to that. How many of you guys have ever heard of lead versus lag measures? When we talk KPIs, lead measure versus lag measure. Put a 2 in the chat if you've never heard that, so I can just get an idea of how many don't know the difference between lead versus lag. Okay, a lot of 2s. Let me explain that really quick. I got some football fans on the call tonight, or at least people that understand the game of football, right? There's 4 quarters, there's 2 teams. The object of the game, have more points than the opponent by the time the 4th quarter runs out, right? And there's this halftime period between quarter 2 and quarter 3 where you can make some adjustments. I love using the football analogy for this reason. How many quarters are there in a year? Quick answer, 4, right? They're broken down into 3-month increments. A lead or a lag measure, let's start there. A lag measure is what I just asked you to write down. How much income do you want to make by the end of the year? What do you want to achieve by the end of the year? Something like that, right? The outcome of the game is I want to achieve X. The outcome in the game of football, have more points than my opponent. A lead measure is things that we can achieve at a certain point in time that aren't fully achieving the goal, but if we can achieve this by this time and then achieve this by this time, we are on track to achieving the overall goal. So go back to football for a second. The overall goal of the game is to beat the opponent, have more points than them by the end of the 4th quarter. An easy lead measure to see if we're doing well and are on track is at the end of the 1st quarter, I got more points than them in the 1st quarter. The end of the 2nd quarter, got more points than them, or maybe I'm tied with them, right? I can go into halftime, I can make some adjustments. I can come out, 3rd quarter ends, I've got more points than them, or I'm tied. We're on pace, right? 4th quarter now comes, boom, I can go and achieve it. As long as I end that 4th quarter with more points than them. But there's a key pivotal point, and that's that halftime period. For us in business, that's midway through the year. Quarter 1, quarter 2, and then at the end of quarter 2, we sit back and we reevaluate and go, is what we're doing the first half of this year working? This marketing plan that we built in December, is it working? Is it moving us through? Are we getting the results that we need? If not, I need to make an adjustment to the plan so that I can attack quarters 3 and quarters 4 and move myself closer to my goal and achieve it. Does that make sense? Lead versus lag. Weight loss is another easy one to explain it with. If I want to lose 50 pounds by a date, whatever, I want to lose 50 pounds by June. Well, I obviously can't get on the scale today and then try to get on the scale in 30 days from now and think I've got 50 pounds off. It's probably not healthy. But if I weigh myself every single month leading up to June, and every month my weight is dropping, it's dropping, it's dropping, those are lead measures leading me on to know that I can ultimately achieve the lag measure of dropping the 50 pounds. Hopefully we all make sense with that. So that's what I mean by quarterly goals and then monthly goals. These are just lead measures going at it. And again, when we get into the spreadsheet, you'll see where these start to play a factor for us. You have to stop pointing out at the beginning of each new year and at the end of each quarter. What I meant by this is you have to have that stopping point. This is halftime, basically, in my analogy. Halfway through the year and at the end of the year. That's why I love doing this webinar right now. We're coming to the end of 2022. You can reflect. How many of you guys maybe achieved your goals? Maybe some of you guys didn't. Cool, I got to readjust 2023. Boom, off to the races. June, we sit down. We start to, at the end of June, we start to really put a new plan in place and make some adjustments from there. So I already asked you guys these. We will skip past this. To give you an example here, let's say your revenue target for 2023 is $1 million. All right, and I'm using numbers for easy math, but some of you guys might have this as your actual revenue goal. You want to make $1 million. Your target revenue, $1 million. If I was going to set a monthly lead measure, that means that my lead measure would be $83,333 a month. If I made $83,333 a month every single month, by the end of the year, I would have made $1 million, right? That's my lead measure monthly. Now, factoring in what it's going to take to get there, and I start asking myself, what's my average transaction value? Meaning, what's the average profit per deal that I get in my marketplace? Some of you guys probably know this really well. Others, you might be struggling. Let's say you're a wholesaler and your average transaction value is you wholesale properties at about $10,000 a pop. So every deal you do, you make about 10 grand. Our goal is still to do $1 million. Well, how many deals will that require? Basically, we have to divide our monthly target by our average transactional value. So if I want to make 83,333 every single month, it takes me about $10,000 per transaction is what I make. I divide the two. That means I need to do 8.33 deals at $10,000 a pop per month to hit the $1 million mark with a $10,000 average deal revenue. Does that make sense? I see a couple heads. Some of you guys don't have cameras on, so just throw one in the chat if that does. Now, obviously, 8.33 transactions a month as a wholesaler doing $10,000 a pop, that's quite a few transactions, yes? If we're rehabbing, more in the fix and flip side, maybe we've got other forms of investments that we do based on whatever your average transaction. That's like back of the envelope, which real estate folks, we should be really good at this, back of the envelope analysis. If I want to make $1 million, that's 83,333 a month. I do $10,000 a deal. That means I got to do about 8.3 deals a month to achieve it. We take that a step deeper. This is why knowing what your lead to close ratio is, meaning do I need 25 leads to every deal, 30 leads to every deal, 50 leads to every deal? I'm going to put somebody on the hot seat, Matt, because I know you can give me this number without even thinking about it. Roughly, what's your lead to close ratio?
With our digital leads, it's 11 to 1.
With your digital internet leads, you said 11 to 1?
Yeah.
Okay. So somebody do the math there. We're going to use Matt's as an example. It means every 11 leads he generates online, he gets one deal out of it. If he's doing $10,000 a deal, he needs to do 8.33 deals a month. Every 11 leads equals one deal. Somebody tell me, how many leads does Matt need to generate in a month for this scenario to play out for him? Grab your calculator. When you think you have the number, throw it in the chat or shout it out.
91.63.
91.63. Somebody else wrote 84. Who's got the right number? Who said 91.63? Dominique, what'd you do? What was the math? Unmute yourself.
8.33 times 11.
8.33, right? The total number of deals that we need to do times 11, because it takes me 11 leads to one deal. And you came up with 90. What was that number? 91? Yeah, we'll round it up. Call it 92 leads, right? So that would be the next metric that I could put down here, right, as a lead measure to see if I'm on track. 91 leads a month. Now, obviously, that's for this scenario here. I know Matt's doing bigger than $10,000 a transaction on it, but let's say you're trying to do a big wholesaling operation, and this is the scenario you're trying to play. That means you need to be generating 91 leads a month to get your 8.3-ish deals a month to get done at a $10,000 average to hit our $1 million a year. This is really important when we get ready to build the plan. Too often we jump ahead, we try to make the plan, but we never really thought about what it's going to take, because we're just like, okay, well, I'm going to spend $100 on a direct mail campaign, and I'm going to beg and borrow my kids to go put out some bandit signs, and I'll be good. I'll make $1 million next year. How many guys realize that does not work? Right? We have to be clear on what we're trying to achieve so that we can build the marketing plan to actually get there. And some of you guys, as we go through this might be your goal. I want to make $1 million. But the realization that, wait a minute, it's not going to happen based on what I'm capable of doing here. I need to readjust that plan for a second. So we already actually went into all of this stuff. I was using Matt on the spot as an example. If you guys know your lead to close ratio, go ahead and write that down. Play with your own math here for a second. But I want to dive into the fundamentals, and then after we get through the fundamentals, we're going to pull up a worksheet. We're going to start plugging in some real numbers into this. So fundamentals of marketing. Hint, hint, wink, wink. The answer is on the screen. Terry Scort, I haven't heard from you in a long time, my friend. You should know this pretty well. What are the 3 fundamentals of marketing?
Message,
Well, that's one of them. Now let's get the other 2.
media,
That's the other one. What's the last one?
marketing,
Well, not marketing,
Market.
market. Write this down. 3 fundamentals of marketing: market, message, media. Market equals, see who remembers that should know from our calls. Chris, market equals what? Chris S.
The area. The area.
Market equals what?
Geography.
Jacob, Jordan. Market equals what?
Where you're located.
Oh, Keith,
Your
Chris.
avatar.
Oh, wait, say it again, Jacob.
Avatar.
Avatar. Market equals who? Market equals who? Meaning market equals who is my market? Who is my avatar? Key fundamental number 1 of marketing. Message, and by the way, guys, I'm not sure if you can fully see it or something. If I'm not like in big full blown up mode, let me do this to make it easier for you guys. Pin me so that you can see it. Now you should be able to see the answers. Market equals who, media equals how we're going to get that out there. Message equals the what we're going to actually say. So, as far as the message goes, sorry, not message. We're going to go into marketing first. My clicker is jacked up here. Come on. There we go. Who is your ideal customer? Can't really see everybody when I pin me like this, so I'm going to rely on you guys to unmute yourself or throw it in the chat. If you know really, really clear right now, who is your ideal? When I use the word ideal, I'm talking about who is that person, that opportunity, that if you could have just a line of them out your door, you would work with that type of person every single day. If you know that, throw it in the chat. Who is your ideal avatar? And this is sometimes really hard for real estate investors, real estate agent, real estate professionals to get clear on, because they think, well, I can just do anybody's deal, or I can do any type of deal. I don't really have a particular one. I see Jacob wrote probate. Ken wrote people who are interested in the tax sale business. That's very specific, right? Matt, distressed seller that has to sell, right? So somebody that's like, I must sell right now. Not I'm considering, not I'm flaky, right? Motivated seller for financial stress. So somebody that's experiencing some kind of financial component. That's a good avatar. Beneficiaries of a trust. Open-minded seller. So maybe somebody, Keith, another way to put that is somebody that's open to creativity, open to alternatives. I would really relate a lot of my marketing messages probably around medicine. Right? There's traditional pharmaceuticals, and then there's more plant-based medicine. We're kind of targeting the plant-based medicine type of person in real estate. Somebody interested in multiple selling options, tired landlords, right? Relocation. These are all really good examples of avatars on there. So I'm not going to spend too much time because you guys got it pretty clear, but I want you to kind of burn this into memory. If you can see Joe Jones through Joe Jones' eyes, then you can sell Joe Jones what he buys. Part of building our marketing plan is thinking this right here. What do I need to say to Joe Jones to help Joe Jones move forward and ultimately have Joe Jones do business with me? This is why knowing your avatar is so important. Because if I don't know who I'm talking to, it's like I'm trying to talk to Joe Jones by talking to Mary. And Joe Jones really doesn't care about Mary. He cares about Joe Jones, right? So although what I'm saying to Mary is good, it doesn't pertain to Joe Jones. Joe Jones doesn't really care, right? Or he doesn't feel like it's the right fit for him. So some of the common customer avatars that we hear out there are what you guys said. But when we look at demographics and we look at some pains and frustrations, these are kind of the two ideal kind of buckets to really kind of get granular on as you get ready to build this plan. What are the demographics of your avatar? Meaning, are they a homeowner that's maybe 35 years old? They're typically female. They're married with 2 to 3 kids. They're the head of the household. They make about $65,000 or more annually in income. They're really family oriented. They get easily frustrated. These are just examples of some demographics. What are their pains and frustrations? We want to get clear on this. You know, is it somebody said financial, their avatar was more designed around people struggling, needing to sell due to financial issues, right? Maybe some pains and frustrations like the bank's calling them nonstop. They can't get they can't get with an attorney because they can't afford it, or they can't get an attorney to return their phone call. So they're feeling like they're just up against the wall. Maybe it's somebody that's got a really distressed property. An example would be like the pain for them would be they need their roof issue resolved. They're too busy to deal with it. They're worried that the situation at the house could be unhealthy for their family. These are examples of pains and frustrations that our avatar could be experiencing. Obviously, you want to sit down, and part of this plan is you want to build in your demographics, your pains and frustrations. You also want to pay attention to fears, and you also want to pay attention to their goals. So some examples of fears would be like being ripped off, taken advantage of, lowball offer. She could have gotten better offer elsewhere. Right? They fear having a home damaged by faulty workmanship. If if you were doing more retail style work, or you're an agent in telling them to get some renovations done before selling, something like that. Right? Having to wait around, being inconvenienced trying to coordinate the sale. May cause a disaster in the house, inconvenient with showings. These are typical fears that our avatars are going through. Some goals and desires: right? Get the house issue fixed, have the issue behind them, have a well-kept home, take care of their family. These are the things that they drives them, right? Respect and approve their friends. They want peace of mind. These are goals, desires. Somebody unmute themselves real quick and tell me, why is it super important to think this granular? Demographic, pains and frustration, fear, goal. Why is it so important to think this deep about our avatar before we even get into making the plan?
So you know your message.
Exactly. 100%. We can't, I was doing this talk, there was a couple of people that are on here tonight that was on the talk that I was doing last night, the Dallas Fortune Builder Mastery Group. And we were talking about some stuff, and I talked about marketing is nothing more than aligning your message to the right person at the right time in the customer journey, right? That's simply what marketing is aligning a message and hitting that person, the right person, at the like perfect time of the customer journey that they should be at hearing that message. And it's really, really hard to do marketing when I don't really know who I'm talking to. I really don't know what it is that they need to hear. I don't really know what's going on with them. It's really hard to get granular with my message. Therefore, I can't really build a plan because I don't know what I'm actually going after, right? So the next piece that we're going to talk about is the actual message. And in your workbook, you guys should have this section, I believe, in there, right? You can start to write some stuff down. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it, but after this webinar, these next couple of weeks, this is what I want you guys to be focusing on. But ask yourself this question: why should somebody choose to do business with you versus your competition? If you're not able to write down a couple things that make you better than them, and I'm not talking about surface level, BS accolades. When I look at REI Toolbox, what makes us different in the digital marketing space than another digital agency that's out there? The owners of this company are in real estate. We know real estate. I've bought and sold and flipped and done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of properties all over this country. I still actively analyze properties. I know the real estate industry quite well. Therefore, when it comes to doing marketing for it, I know the avatars, right? That's a big thing on why somebody should choose REI Toolbox versus another digital agency. You need to think about that for your own business. What makes you better than your competition? Because I guarantee you at some point, if you haven't been asked this at some point, somebody's going to ask, why should I choose you? Or they're thinking it, and we need to make sure that we get that out there. The other question that I would have you ask is, what benefits do you offer that your target customer will resonate with? Resonate meaning, does it meet their goal and desires? Is there something that you offer? Is there some kind of benefit? A couple of you guys that were on the call prior to this, and I got live with the seller. One of the things that the seller said to me was that she's super stressed out. She's dealing with her child that's over in college. They're dealing with this fire damaged house. They don't want to deal with this thing. She kept using the word stress. She used it like 3 or 4 times. And shortly after she said that a couple of times, she asked this question about, what's the process like, by the way? How does it work doing that? You know, I want you to go out and take a look at the house. I'm sure you're going to give me a number, but like, tell me, what's the process like? And Chris S., you're like dead smack 4 people that I see there, and I know you're on the call. What was my answer, knowing that she's complaining about stress? What was one of the benefits that I threw out about our process?
There were the easy button.
The easy button.
Started using the words to drive into that point.
Why? Because that's what we strive to do. Is, man, this is exactly what I told her. So we try to make it as simple, as pain-free. I even used her own words back on it, right? As stress-free as possible, like the easy button. You remember the old Staples commercial? Is exactly even how I said it. That's a benefit that avatar, right? Somebody dealing with fire damaged homes, very stressful, these type of things, resonates with. And immediately you can hear it in her voice, like, that's amazing, that's awesome, you know, I love that. Were some of her answers coming back? So ask yourself, and it's not going to just be one benefit, right? That can't be the only thing, is that it's just stress-free and easy. Find a handful of benefits that you offer that your target customer can resonate with, right? So some messaging that we know works. Stuff like quick solution for their problem. It's an example of a line really around the benefit side, right? A quick solution. I would replace the word their problem and in like more or less insert quick solution for whatever that is. Straightforward offer or a satisfaction guarantee, trustworthy, trusted, experienced. These are benefit words, right? That we want to make sure that we're bringing in and using into our messaging. You can also make the case like it's a fast offer. We don't drag our feet. Serious offer. I've used the word certified offer before. Like, I'm going to certify myself here on that. Money savings, help you save money, these type of things versus a realtor, if we're going that direction. Solution focused. It's one of my favorite lines to bring into messaging. We help you find the best solution. We're a solutions focused company. We take the best solution for you, these type of things, right? Guaranteed home buyer program. Maybe if you've got a team, like I know Matt and a couple others on this, you guys got some acquisition people, that kind of stuff. Maybe you put them through a program of your own that you design. It's a series of trainings, and that's something that you can kind of stand on now. Like, we have a guaranteed home buyer program. Anybody in our company that works with you, they operate under this. We are a guaranteed home buyer. They're not going to flake on you, that kind of thing. So stop here for a second. You might not be able to get all your messaging down, but just kind of think, jot some notes. I see a lot of heads down, people that I can see. So I'm assuming your head's down taking notes and not falling asleep on me. But you're taking some notes. Write down a couple things that maybe you need to work on with your message. Now, the third part of this is the strategy, which is all about the media. And I don't mean media like ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, these type of media. Media is really just as simple as, how are we going to get this out there? Where are we going to look? This is where the strategy comes in. This is where the game plan comes in. But it isn't until you've figured out the avatar really clear, you figured out some messaging that you're going to put in front of that avatar, that then you can focus on how we're going to get this out for you. How many guys, before I go too deep into this, throw one in the chat, are realizing this is why you should start this work now, so that January 1st, you're ready to execute on this phase, not waiting to January 1st to start trying to figure out who's the avatar, what the hell am I going to say, and maybe by February, you're working on the how, right? So I'm not going to go into the drawing board because I want to keep ourselves on time here. But I do want to talk a little bit about your website being a hub. And some of you guys were on the call last night, so some of this next couple slides is going to be a little bit of a refresher. But when we start looking at how we're going to get this out there, we really have to start looking inward as well. And that is, our website truly needs to become the marketing hub of our business. Somebody throw it in the chat or unmute yourself. Give me a definition of the word hub. What comes to mind when you hear the hub?
It's in the center. Everything points to it.
Yeah, the center activity, one stop, right? Central point. I don't know how many of you guys know much about like transportation, UPS, FedEx, that kind of stuff. Deanna happens to be pretty high up with UPS. And I've learned a ton about how the transportation world works and why they have hubs in certain places and like how the world port works and how they disperse everything out of the hubs. And as I look at something like that operation, I'm always talking to her saying it's kind of like the website, right? It's kind of like the centralized location. Everything that's going on at some point in UPS, right? Every package that goes out at some point routes itself through a major hub in a geographic area. And if it's going from West Coast to East Coast, it probably bounces through 3 or 4 major portions of their hubs to get there. The same's true for our avatars, for our potential customers that are out there. We want to be thinking that way. Like, I want to be routing them nonstop through my hub. Why? Because I've got one area to keep completely updated now, my hub. I'm not trying to keep everything updated. I want to stir emotion, stir interest, and drive to the hub. So, Chris, Sal, you guys are getting used on this one. Thanks for being on and being part of my screenshots again. But your website really needs to be set up to convert. And I'm using Chris and Sal because, and I've got a couple others in here. I don't remember how many slides I brought in from other clients on here, but what I love about what Chris and Sal have done, Liz or Marie and Jake with Laura have done a really good job around this, and a couple others. They deal a lot in the probate space. And when I talk about converting, sometimes we think the only thing that's considered a conversion on a website is the phone call or a form fill out. Meaning they fill out a form requesting a cash offer. They give us a call to get a cash offer. They fill out a form for us to do a listing. They call us about getting a listing. You know, even Ken that's on here, they fill out a form wanting to know about buying tax notes versus calling. That's not always the true definition of a conversion. A conversion is also, most people don't want to do that level until they've moved down the journey. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time going into that whole presentation because it'll get us off track of tonight. But what I love about what Chris and Sal and Ohana Legacy has done is, instead of saying, hey, fill out this form and let me give you an offer, they're saying, hey, here's a resource that I know will be helpful for you. Here's a probate selling process, right? Kind of the probate process timeline and how you need to navigate that thing. And Chris, Sal, you guys tell me, like, this is something that people actually download. I know when you first built it, you didn't think that people would do it.
We're looking at a lead for it Monday. So, I mean, it's a very popular one. It gets us appointments, it really does.
And that's what I mean by converting, right? Because we're driving to the hub. We want the website to be the hub, but we need to make sure that when they get there, there's something of value. Going back to the message of the avatar, one of the pains, one of the stresses of a probate individual, an individual dealing with the probate process. Chris, what was the number one pain that you guys were constantly hearing that led to this?
The frustrations of the timeline. That's why we found it, made it. They don't know what to expect.
I don't care what you do in real estate. What is the number one marketing problem facing investors, agents today? Somebody said finding leads, response time. Bob, I appreciate you paying attention earlier and diving in to the answer. It's 100% the response time. The number one problem in our marketing facing the real estate industry is response. How many of you guys have an idea of how much time you really have to follow up with a lead from your marketing to get that marketing to stick? Dominique, I see you raised your hand. I can't see any other hands. How much time do
About
you think you
5 minutes.
5 minutes that's on the far end of the spectrum, right?
Yeah,
You
that's
better
maximum.
you better be following up within a 5-minute window. Can anybody tell me why that is? Why is it so crucially important to follow up within 5 minutes from our marketing?
Because otherwise they've moved on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're probably just not calling you. They're probably got a full list and they're just looking for responses. So if you don't respond back, they're just gonna, someone else is gonna do it, and then they're gonna get their attention, and the awareness level goes to them.
Let's throw some stats around that, right? 50 to 60% of inbound leads leave unconverted simply because nobody followed up with them, so they went and found a different way of doing it. Over half of most inbound leads, when we look at it in the real estate world, I don't do it every single time, but I do this from time to time. When somebody books a call with me, and I always go and look at their website prior to them getting on a call with me. And if they've got this like really decent website, or they kind of look like they've got an operation that is doing really well, I've done this before where like 24 hours before the call, I'll fill out one of their forms. And I was blown away with how many times I never got a thing back. And I wouldn't use Sean Tiberio. I would use names that sounded familiar, phone numbers that weren't my direct phone number, but were a phone number that were legit, right? So it wasn't like they could tell that I was doing this to test them. But I can't tell you how many times I would never get a response. Nobody would reach out to me. I wouldn't get a message back. No, I wouldn't get any emails, nothing in a 24, 28-hour window. So often we see this as a problem. Marketing ends up becoming the quote unquote issue. My marketing sucks. My marketing's not generating leads. My marketing's not doing anything for me. When in reality, it's just this major problem right here. And that's the follow-up component of it. 90% of web forms, this is why I would test this, 90% of the web forms fail to convert, not because the person's not legitimate, because nobody was actually paying attention and following up on that. The reason I'm bringing this up is it does us no good to put this big plan in place, to try to put a bunch of stuff out there if we're not going to capitalize on the opportunities when they come in. So you really have to start to think about, when you build your plan, you need to be thinking about stuff like, how can I use my own next steps of marketing, like funnel type marketing, to automate some follow-ups, to get something out within the first 2 to 5 minutes? How can I automate some things so that just because they fill it out doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily get in touch with them that first 2 to 5 minutes. So I need to get in touch with them somewhere between 7, 8, 9, 10 times before I possibly can convert them. And the reason I'm emphasizing this is, if you build a strong marketing plan for 2023 and start executing on it, but a bunch of stuff's falling through the cracks, how well is that return on investment for your marketing going to be? It's not going to be very good if we're putting out a lot, we're doing a lot, we're putting a lot of marketing out there, it's generating things, but we're not capitalizing on those. Our return on that investment is going to not be so great. And then what are we going to end up blaming? We're going to end up blaming the marketing. We're going to blame the channel. We're going to blame the quote unquote, the media, right? The where we put it out there, and say that that's the problem. Oh, Google sucks. Oh, Facebook sucks. Oh, bandit signs don't work. Oh, direct mail isn't very good anymore. oh, those things don't work in my market. Some of you guys may have already said these in the past. And my challenge to you would be, how can we make sure that we've got some automation in place? How can we make sure the next tier, right? Because part of my marketing plan should really be thinking about capitalizing on the opportunities that are going to come in. So it's really simple math on how important capitalizing on our leads are. Let's say we generated 100 leads and we've got a terrible conversion rate of 3% because we have no follow-up in place. That means of the 100 leads that we generated, we would maybe get on the phone, talk to, contracts, whatever word you want to emphasize there, maybe about three opportunities, right? 3 people we can classify that as. So that means 100 leads at 3% is these 3 contracts or 3 deals, we'll say, if that was our conversion rate, because no follow-up in there to really convert this. We had an average deal flow of 35,000, pretty typical for a fix and flipper, make 35 grand or so on a flip, right? That means those 3 contracts times 35,000 would be about $105,000 for the year. Now, not by changing anything but our follow-up process, still generate 100 leads. With automated follow-up, we can, let's say we double our conversion rate up to 6%. And 6 is still quite low. You should be converting a little bit better than that, but this is pretty modest. From somebody doing 3 prior with no automation, no system in place on the back end, we can get you to 6 pretty easily. We now take 3 up to 6, still at that 35,000. We jumped all the way to $210,000 by doing nothing more, right? We didn't go back and redo the marketing plan. We just focused on the back end of everything. Those that were on the call earlier today with me, this was what led to having an opportunity on the plate versus not having the opportunity on the plate, right? Automation kicked in enough to get my attention to make me realize this is something I need to spend a little bit of time on, even though I'm trying to get ready for a webinar. I need to jump on this. I need to reach out to this person. I need to start having some conversation. And that was the difference between this person being still in that moment and talking to me and looking like it's going to be something that we can dig deeper into versus me waiting until tonight, tomorrow to get back with them and then probably saying, Sean, who with what company? I don't remember you. If that makes sense, just go to the chat box there, throw a little 1 in the chat so I know that everybody is tracking on that. So let's start implementing this into your business. And I want to get into the KPIs around this. Got a couple slides on this, and then I'm going to share the screen and go into a worksheet. We're going to play with some numbers. Here's some metrics that you really should have some KPI tracking in place for, okay? As you look at your marketing plan. A, you really should have some call tracking in place. The more granular you can get with call tracking, the better you're going to be able to grade your marketing plan on that. What do I mean by more granular? Having call tracking in place, at least knowing how many calls are coming in every single month is great. But if I can know how many calls came in, and of those calls coming in, how many of those were brand new phone calls versus returning calls, I'm getting a little bit more granular. I'm able to tell a deeper story. If I take that even deeper, if I'm able to tell that phone call coming in came from my website versus my PPC ads versus my direct mail campaign versus my text campaign versus my bandit signs, right? Because I got multiple numbers that I'm leveraging, multiple different tracking pieces in place, I'm able to tell an even deeper story. Is this making sense? Thumbs up, 1 in the chat, something like that, right? The deeper level of call tracking we can have, the better we're able to grade if our marketing plan is working for us. Average cost per lead generated. What is it costing you to generate a lead? This one is hypercritical. I don't want to pick too much on Matt, but this is something Matt, myself, my team, we've been talking a lot about with his campaigns. He's doing a lot of different PPC stuff, and he's got really good cost per lead in the grand scheme of things. But because we are clear, we know what it is, we're able to set milestones and see if we can't chip away at that, get it even better, right? understanding what it truly costs you to generate a lead, because here's why. When we get into this spreadsheet, this is going to be a question you're going to have to answer for it to do the calculations, so that you know, if it costs me $250 to generate a lead and I need 11 leads to get a deal, do the simple math. How much money do I need to invest to generate the deals that I want to do? Is this making sense? One in the chat, if it is. Same thing when we start looking at stuff like our website visits. What pages are converting the most visitors? What pages are they spending the most time on? This is one of my favorite metrics to pay attention to. I've been blown away these last few months to see which pages of some of our clients' websites are the most trafficked and visited page on the website. It's pages that many of you guys probably would not expect that it is. Stuff like our About Us page, our How It Works page, our Contact Us page. These are the pages that are actually the highly trafficked pages of most of the sites. Lead to contract percentage, lead to close percentage, and then really, if you could, kind of have like a simple dashboard to measure your KPIs, simple spreadsheet, something that works for you in your business. These are numbers that you should be paying attention to grade how well the marketing's doing, right? It does no good to set the goals, set the milestones, set the lead measure versus the lag measure, look at it at the end of the quarter, look at it every month, if I don't know what I'm measuring, right? If I don't know what I'm grading against. I'll just be sitting there looking, going, well, I don't know if that's doing well or not well. Is that up or is that down, right? Do I need to make an adjustment or not? And the key thing to remember here, what gets measured gets done. If you measure it, you can adjust it. It can be focused on. All right. With that, I'll talk real fast on these trends. So this one's quite funny because it literally just happened right in front of a bunch of you guys earlier today. Shifting from thinking everything has to be phone conversation to being okay with message conversation, text message, chat bot, Facebook Messenger, Instagram DM messaging, this type of thing. This is a big trend we've been paying attention to and seeing over the last couple of years. More and more people are more comfortable chatting versus getting on the phone and talking. Can anybody tell me why you think that is? There's one thing that we could kind of tie back to that has caused this shift. It was a pretty big world event.
COVID.
Call it what you want to call it. The pandemic changed the way people operate. When people started realizing how easy it was to just sit behind a phone and take care of things, because they got forced to. They couldn't get up and go to the store. So they had to get comfortable ordering food on their phone, right? They couldn't go and do certain things. Telemedicine became really common. Messaging doctors, getting on Zoom calls with doctors, right? This type of stuff. Shifting away from this idea that I have to talk to them on the phone. That's the only way this is going to work. And understanding that messaging is just as powerful. Now, I'm not saying that the belly button to belly button will completely go away, but it is okay at certain periods of the journey. Some of you guys saw it play out firsthand. Messaging still works. And it works better early in the phase and then later in the phase once you've got the relationship going. So think about your own marketing process and getting away from this whole message of call me, call me, call me. It's okay for them to send you some messages. The other big trend is you really have to start thinking about an all-in perspective, meaning it's not just SEO or just PPC or just social media or just X marketing tactic. It is an all-in perspective that we're seeing the trends. If you're not doing all of it, the results tend to get stifled. And I don't want to go off on a tangent. That'd be a whole other training on exactly why that is and what's going on, algorithms and these type of things. The other big trend for 2023, a lot of you guys that work with us closely, you've heard me talking about this like crazy lately. Video is on the rise. Video is huge. Who can tell me what single platform has changed this?
YouTube,
I see Bob put it in the chat. YouTube is a good one, but what
TikTok.
platform changed this?
TikTok.
TikTok. Video, and if I were to redo this slide, I would actually write in, and you could write this in your notes, short video is on the rise. Attention span today is shorter than it has ever been. Again, I go back to the pandemic. People realize they can do a lot more at a lot faster clip without spending a lot of time on things. And as these short form platforms like TikTok are going through the roof, the attention span is really diminishing. And it's funny, there's a TikTok stat that came out. I see, Bob, you put in 6 seconds. That's how long you pretty much have to get somebody's attention and hold them. But TikTok actually put an update out not too long ago, and they were talking about the average view duration of a TikTok video has increased from 2022 to 2021, and it increased from 27 seconds to 42 seconds. Let that sink in for a second. In 2021, it was kind of like 21-ish seconds or so somebody would spend on a TikTok before swiping up. And TikTok was putting out a report that the average view duration had gone up year over year, and it was up into the 41, 42 second range. I mean, some of you guys think about how long if I were to ask you, give me a 42-second or less elevator pitch about yourself, how many of you guys can do it right now? 42 seconds is not a lot of time. Keeping in mind, I also, to Bob's point, I've got about 4 to 6 seconds to hook somebody because the attention span is just gone, right? They just boom, off to the next, off to the next, off to the next. So short form video is on the rise. That doesn't mean that there isn't a place still for long form content. Long form content on YouTube is getting even more powerful than it ever has. If it's got the right components, if it's got a good hook, it can keep somebody, it's got the right interest, it's got movement, it's got a lot of stuff to it. The other big one is maps and PPC, paid advertising, pay per click. If you want to know what PPC stands for, maps and PPC are hot right now. If you really pay attention to what's going on in the digital world, the organic stuff is starting to get dropped farther and farther down on the page, meaning the real estate of the page is shifting. In a way, Google is really changing the way that they're leveraging their use of the real estate of that page. We're seeing PPC and maps really start to take over, and they're now even giving the ability to advertise into the maps in certain areas and certain ways. This is a big trend that as we look at 2023, it's deeper. This is why I go back to it's more than just a single component. It's an all-in perspective on this because there's nuances in there and there's things that we're seeing as the trends move forward that we can't just focus on one. It's really focusing in every piece of it. And that's what this document that I'm going to show you guys is going to help you map out how to adjust your budgets around those different areas. If you guys haven't got this checklist yet, all you need to do is go over to reitoolbox.com, scroll down a little ways on the homepage. There is the digital marketing, your internet marketing checklist in there. I don't remember, it might be in the workbook. If it's not in the workbook, you can go over to reitoolbox.com and download it. This will give you a good general gist of some other components for your marketing campaigns, your marketing plan to put in place. So with that, I'm going to stop kind of going through this at the moment, and we're going to dive into some live stuff. While I do, anybody have any comments, questions, thoughts? Let me just do a quick check-in. I'm actually going to...
John, I have a question. What is Maps?
Maps is Google Maps. So actually...
Oh, okay.
Question. Let me do... so here, let me share the screen. That's 40,000. I need to add a 0. 400,000. Now, Sal, you tell me. Budget. Let's go. Budget. Let's go. Somebody do the math really quick. 12 times 2,857.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. 12 times 2. It's 34,284.
34,284. So we need to be around the 34 range.
Right.
Yep, that's about right. So you can see here when I hover over this. Come on, mouse. Play fair. Connection lost. Connected. There we go. You see when I hover over this, I put some stuff in there. 8% is a good rule of thumb for typical marketing budgets. 15 would be really aggressive. 3 is very conservative. Here's what I mean. 8%, when I'm talking about the percentage, we're talking about percentage of the annual revenue I want to make. So if I want to make $400,000, average, I need, it's kind of the good rule of thumb average, I need to be budgeting about 8% of that annual revenue I want to generate for marketing purposes. That makes sense?
Yep.
15 is pretty aggressive, right? If we were to bump this from 8 to 15%, we'll see that number jumps up to 60,000. 3% is conservative. So you have to do kind of a self-reflection standpoint. Yes, A, budget. Can you afford the percentage that you really need to be doing? B, what is your investment kind of feel, right? If you're somebody like myself, Matt as a good example here, we got a little bit more of an aggressive, we're willing to invest more because we know we'll probably get the return. It doesn't scare us as much. But you might be on the other side of the spectrum. Like if Deanna was on this call right now, she'd be telling me to put in a 1%. Super conservative, right? So Sal, you tell me somewhere between that 3 to 8%, or just give me, what would you feel comfortable with? Not that you can
8%.
do it.
8%. 8%.
So we're going to play it with an 8% line, which means your total marketing budget for the year, right? This is for the year, 32 grand.
Which is one deal.
Great way to think about it. I love where your mind is at. I can tell I've worked with you. Which brings your average monthly budget down to about that 26,666, range. We're a little off from the other sheet, but right, these two sheets don't necessarily parallel up to each other. Okay. Now, here's kind of a breakdown of the 3 primary buckets that I believe you should be looking at your marketing plan. You should have an allocation of this budget going on your online marketing. You should have an allocation of this going to your offline marketing, and you should have an allocation going to what we call repeat business. Repeat business in the real estate space is relationships with people that can bring me more than one deal. Sal, Chris, I know a lot about your guys' company. This would be marketing that's going after my attorneys, marketing that's going after my the placement agents, marketing that's going after transition centers, right? These type of things. I want to allocate some stuff at that. Now, I put a rule of thumb in here. I believe 60% of your budget should be going online just with the trends minimum, right? Ideally, I'd like to see this a little bit higher from a digital standpoint, but conservatively, 60% minimum online, 30% offline. Offline is stuff like investing, like sponsoring events, doing direct mail, putting out signage, right? Still doing the cold calling, cold texting kind of stuff, right? Even though I call it the hamster wheel and rat race, it works. We still need to do some of it. But notice I only want about 30% of my budget going at that. Ideally, I'd like to see that maybe more like 20% of my budget over there. Unless it's doing a ton for me at the moment, then I might reallocate, right? This is why it's so important to do monthly check-ins, quarterly check-ins, half year, right? Check-ins at this and see if I need to readjust some stuff. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So do you feel pretty comfortable with this, or kind of what would you change if you were doing it?
I'm good with that for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that being said, that means of this 32,000, $19,200 of it is going towards our online marketing as we speak. 30,000 is going, or 30% on the offline. So about just $9,600 a year is going to go at the offline stuff. And about $3,200 is going to go towards some of this repeat business that's out there. Does that make sense to everybody? Quick thumbs up. And again, you could change these numbers, play with these numbers, find your comfortable zone. Okay. From there, we come down here to this section, and we've got offline marketing. We've got, we've got a breakdown here, and then we're going to get into the more granular breakdowns down here. So in this breakdown right here, we're going to break down, because this is yearly, but I don't know how many of you guys are ready to dump that much of your budget right out of the gate, right? You might not have the 32,000 just yet. I love how Sal said it's one deal, meaning as soon as I get a deal and I make that, then boom, I've paid for my stuff for the year, but I might not have the 32,000 sitting in the bank today, right? So it might not be, I need to ramp to that possible. So here we can break this down all the different months, and we've got our online marketing column, we've got our offline marketing, and we've got our repeat. And I've kind of done some placeholders in here for you guys. You guys can adjust. I'm going to make some adjustments just so you can see how the numbers change on here. But let's say from a quarterly standpoint, right? The first 3 months out of the year, January, February, March, we're going to dump about 5.5% of what we should be putting into this because that's what I can comfortably afford, right? Let's say that might be a little too low though for you. Maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable at the 6.5 range, right? Out of the gate. Notice how these numbers started to change over here. So we go 6.5, 6.5,